And we are back. Couch Company Podcast. I'm John. With me as always, Tyler.
I'm Tyler. Hello.
And we're here. We actually have a lot of video games to talk. I'm looking at the list right now.
Yeah, there's a lot on the list.
And we were just talking about Call of Duty.
Yep.
Black Ops 6.
Yes.
Which is hard to believe because I was alive when Call of Duty Black Ops came out.
I think it's confusing people. Like, I was reading, and I don't want to throw any publication under the bus because I honestly don't remember. I don't want to say it was Polygon, but it might have been Polygon. But someone was saying that
really avoided it there.
I don't think it was Polygon. It was someone that I followed on my RSS feed. But they said it's like, oh, this is actually the 7th game in this series because there was Cold War. And I'm like, I don't think that's right.
Ugh.
So I went back and you have your World at War.
Yep.
Then you have Black Ops.
Wait,
1.
World at War counts?
No.
Oh, okay.
That's just Treyarch.
Yeah, that's Treyarch. Yeah. Right.
But you have your Black Ops. You have Black Ops 2. Black Ops 3.
Is it Treyarch or was it Activision?
Treyarch's part of Activision. Activision's the publisher. Treyarch's the developer.
Oh, I'm thinking Infinity Ward versus Treyarch.
Infinity Ward is Modern Warfare.
That's on me. Yep.
That was the whole thing. Is 4 came out, World at War.
Right.
And
Alternating. Yep.
So you had World at War. That was awesome and kind of kicked that Treyarch thing off. But then you had Black Ops 2, 3, 4. 5 was Cold War. And now this is Black Ops 6.
Yes.
So when they were like, this is actually the 7th game, and I'm like,
nope.
No. I was like, did I miss something?
No.
Like, not being super into Call of Duty for a couple of years? I'm like, nah. It's so.
We are on the 6th.
Cold War is the only campaign I did not finish.
Oh, really?
All the Call of Duties. Yeah.
Well,
and
4 did not have a campaign.
Was that?
If I remember correctly,
correct?
I believe 4 was just multiplayer.
It was either 3 or 4.
No, I think it was 4.
You're probably right. Oh yeah, because it was the dumb 4.
Yeah,
it was
4 lines.
Roman numeral ones.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, you're right. Yeah, then Cold War. Now this is 6.
Yes, 4 was like weird.
They had a campaign and then they just
scrapped it, right?
Well, yeah, they couldn't get it done in time.
Yeah, 4 was like they started doing the hero thing where you had to pick your hero, which I don't know. Like, it's an interesting thing, right? When you have a franchise around for this long, you have to try to adapt, I guess.
Yeah.
If you keep doing the same thing, it's just going to become stale. But at the same time, like, how do you do that without losing your identity?
I don't know. And it's this weird thing, too, where it's like, I haven't tried the omnidirectional movement stuff. I can see that being like, I'm going to be swearing my head off probably from like all the sliding and diving and
I feel like I haven't played it yet. It feels like it's going to be like Max Payne or something where you're just diving around.
Just no slow-mo, so I'm just going to get wrecked by 12-year-olds.
Yeah, I was looking at like a screenshot that they had today. It was like an article about like, oh, Black Ops 6 is out and already it's like all these publications being like, here's the best loadout, here are the best guns, this and that. Yep. It's like, dude, the internet has killed like the fun factor because back in the day when you played Black Ops 1, it was like you figured all that stuff out. And there were still videos like that. Like Machinima would come out with like, oh, here are the best, or like Drifter. I don't know if you ever watched him, but he had his like, he had this series where he would go through every gun in every Call of Duty with like their actual stats, because the stats on Call of Duty are like notoriously not correct.
Right.
Those were always fun to watch, but there'd be like time in between and it would take time for that to come out and develop and things like that.
Yeah.
Now everything's so fast that I already know what's OP and the game came out like 1 minute ago. That's crazy.
But it's also like, you're going to like, if you go online and you go to any of those publications and they're like, oh, these are the ones you want, right? Like this is the best loadout. You could also just go to a YouTube video and get a gun that's like 50 times more powerful or a build that's so much better or whatever, because like they're going to be actually playing the game and doing it, where I feel like a lot of the publications are just like, okay, what's this gun? Okay, M16, that's probably power. Like I feel like they don't actually do their due diligence. First. Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's just like media today, right? It's like better to be first than right.
I think it still comes down to like, I'll tell you one thing. with the exception of like truly broken weapons, right? So like the
Model AT
double double shotties and stuff.
You put your hands up, it was like immediately. Yeah. I mean the double lever action sniper rifles.
Yep. Yeah. So or the one from the original, so the Modern Warfare remaster, there was like the pump shotgun. And that was the only time I've ever turned proximity chat back on, because people would swear so bad whenever you would like snipe them with this shotgun from like 1,000,000 feet away, because it was so
Was it
OP.
like the spaz or
no, it was a pump action. It was like probably like 1880, not 1887, but like
M1014. That's not a pump.
No. Yeah, I forget what it was called. Yeah, but it was like essentially a trench gun. But it was just like this pump action thing. And you would like jump and like just headshot it was wild. And I was laughing like a pig in crap. I was just like, oh man, it was so good.
Yeah.
And then they nerfed the crap out of it and stuff, as it should. It was overpowered.
Yeah.
Unless it's like something like that, I think that you just finding a gun that fits with your play style is still going to be better than anything else that you play, because no one is at the top tier levels that like the pros are coming down at. So it always like annoys me where it's like, oh, here's the meta. This is good. This is bad or whatever. When I was playing Modern Warfare 2 and I was getting a chopper gunner just about every match, like, and granted, that's not good by pro levels, but it's like, I think I was doing pretty good in the Modern Warfare 2 remake or whatever.
Yeah.
And I started with the basic loadout, and I think I put a sight on it, and that was it.
Yeah.
And it was still fine.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like, so it's just like, I don't put a lot of stock in that. I get that's the first thing people look at, but it's just like, just have fun. I don't know.
Well, I was just getting flooded with it this morning.
Oh,
and I was
like,
it's just, I don't know.
It was, dude, and like, it was the campaign. It's like, here are all the secrets here. I'm like, dude, you're ruining this just.
I didn't see that.
Oh my gosh. It was like, here's how to solve every puzzle and everything. Cause it's like, it's Black Ops. There's all some like weird
Easter eggs
crap.
And yeah.
Which is awesome. And that was the reason why World at War was so amazing. Cause it's like, oh, you find all the teddy bears and Eminem plays or whatever it was, you know? I don't think it was Eminem back then, but, and it was just like, the internet just, man,
it's tough. Like, look, there's good things about the internet these days, especially as it pertains to games, right? Like, you get news immediately, you get more informed about, potentially certain aspects of games. And like, for example, well, maybe this isn't a good thing. I'm curious how you feel about this, but like, if you are more informed about the quality of a specific game, do you think we're losing something by, having to try that game out, and you might be lucky and it's like, wow, this is a really great game that I discovered, or you know what I mean?
I think just from the sheer volume, you kind of need to know like what's worth your time and what's not. And I don't have the time to do that. So right. I think that's good. The thing that I can't stand, and I was seeing this morning too, is all these YouTube videos. Cause I was like, oh crap, I didn't even realize that it's like Friday already and COD's out and stuff. And there are YouTube videos of like, here's why COD is the worst COD since, I don't know, War Dogs or whatever the other one was. Ghosts. And it's like this guy, and he takes like 5 minutes of rambling, and he's like, and I haven't been able to play it yet because my time's. It's just like, dude, brutal. Like you're talking about how crap this game is, showing pre-done footage that looks awesome. And you're saying like, and I bet other people already that are playing probably hate it too. And it's just like, dude, you're like that type of like clickbait. Like I was like, oh crap, like what's going on? And they're like, yeah, the servers are probably going to go down because they're always down and everything. And it's just like, can you let the game come out first?
But that's what works. It's the algorithm's fault. Like you watched it, and it's like 100%. Not that it's your fault, but it's like that's what's being pushed, and it's like
I want to know if I want to like put 80 gigs down. Or do I want to wait for it to like the servers to be online?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, look, again, I agree. At the point in our lives where we're at, you have to be able to filter some things out, right? That's why, like, here at the Couch Company, we utilize like OpenCritic to like see what's worthwhile playing. Now, there are some exceptions to that where it's like, okay, Space Marine 2, we both really enjoyed the first one. I have experience with the tabletop game. It's like, I'm going to play that game even if it's a green yucky guy.
Sure.
But something like, what's something I played because it was an orange? I'm trying to think.
Alan Wake.
Yeah, like perfect. Yeah, where you're like, hey, dude, you really got to play this, and like it was really highly lauded. It's like I wouldn't have played that otherwise. I don't particularly like horror games.
Yeah,
which might be
or even Yakuza, right? Like you wouldn't have touched.
Yeah,
Yakuza.
well, that's another one where it's like, man, these are always at the top of the list. People love this series, and that one in particular was like, well, they're on 8, and it's like,
yeah,
I feel it's a little bit more intimidating to get in, but I'm glad I played it.
Sure,
and I can't wait to talk about my experience with it in our Game of the Year discussion, especially with Jeff. A little sneak peek on that is it has to do with difficulty.
Okay.
Which, you know me, I'm the easy mode guy. There is no difficulty change in that game. And I was pretty thankful that there wasn't. So just a little foreshadowing. Right. But I go back and forth on this because, and I was having an interesting conversation. Speaking of Jeff, and by the way, anyone who's listening, Jeff, our good friend, comes on the podcast. What Killed Jeff on Twitch, right?
Yeah.
Check him out. He's great. Really funny guy. Very knowledgeable about the video game space. So I sent a video in our group chat about a person who opened their own, what would you call it? Not a hobby store, but I guess a video game store, right?
It's like a GameStop, but an indie GameStop.
An indie GameStop, essentially, right? Like has all the retro consoles, all the way up to modern consoles. Like I'm pretty sure he sells like PS5s and stuff as well.
I saw Switches there. I didn't notice the PS5s, but yeah.
And I thought it was really interesting because obviously, and we've had this discussion before, we're going away from the retail side of things, more of digital. But there is that aspect of back in the day, your mom would drive you to Toys R Us and you'd look around the video game aisle for that game. Like I have a specific memory of finding Sly Cooper for the first time.
Yeah.
And I just really liked the cover of the game. And then it had like the greatest hits thing on the PS2. I was like, all right, I'm going to get this. But there's like a risk in that. But when it pays off, it feels so amazing.
Yeah.
Versus today where it's like, oh, Suicide Squad got a 60. I'm not going to waste my time with that. Like, I'm not going to buy that. And
even though it maybe would have given us some fun, right? Like, we could have played a multiplayer thing. We might have had some good time with it.
What did we play a couple years ago was the Bloodborne. Or not Bloodborne. What was the vampire game? Redfall. Something.
Oh, yeah.
Bloodborne. Bloodborne's a good game. People are like upset. No, like Redfall.
Yeah.
It was funny.
Yeah.
It was a night of like, wow, this is bad.
This is
right.
This is so bad. But we also had it on Game Pass where we weren't paying $60 for it or whatever.
It's like, you got to pick and choose. And there's a time component, but there's also a financial component.
Yeah.
Like you just can't. I think you're right. I think you're onto something with the sheer volume. But I understand why people are nostalgic about that time and place. Like to bring Jeff back into the conversation is like I was talking to him about like midnight releases at GameStop where it was an event. And I only went to one of them in my life because I was pretty young.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. It was Halo 4.
Sure.
And my cousin brought me there and we stayed up till midnight. Like he convinced my mom to do it because I was like young, right?
Yeah.
And I had school and stuff. And so we were there. It was awesome. And we had the Red Bull girls, which were great, walking around. I can't believe it was wild. I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
You guys did this all the time. And we got the game and we went home. We played it all night and beat the campaign. Yeah. It was like, that's a cool experience. It's a memory, right? Halo 4 is terrible, by the way. The campaign was awful.
It was not the best Halo.
It wasn't good.
Yeah.
But even so, it's like there's something tangible there, right? So I understand his perspective on this because he's very much for the physical side of
Jeff's
things.
Perspective.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And but I'm back and forth on it because I do like that.
Yeah.
But I also really like I can get any game I want on demand. Like, imagine having that as a kid. You've been like, dude, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I could buy any game I want right now and try it out. And it's going to lose its luster like it has for us because we're just spoiled.
That's what I mean. Like, you're not going to appreciate it. Like, it's going to be like, okay, I
think there's a period of time where you appreciate it.
I think it's the getting it that you appreciate. I don't know. I mean, granted, there's always those games that you enjoy, but I think my biggest issue is my library is so large.
Yeah.
That, like, my attention gets drawn so quickly. I'm not like sucked into like one game that I'm like, oh, I have to play this. And that happens. Like certain games will grab me in and I'll pour 60 hours into something and be like, okay, this is it. But yeah, I don't know. I'm thankful for where we were as kids.
Yeah.
I'm going to pretend that we're the same age.
Where we had the same experience.
Yeah, where you are going to Toys R Us, you are finding that physical copy, and they're putting it in, and hey, shocker, it works the first time. There's no update, and
gosh,
whatever. Yeah. I think there is something to be said for that. I mean, I know I was chasing that with like the retro stuff, and like, you know, I'll still get that warm fuzzy feeling where it's like if it's storming outside or something like that, and you curl up and you turn on like just the Game Boy, and you're just like, oh, hey, I'm playing Pokemon. It's just very simple and everything. Like there is that cool thing.
Yep.
And then out of the same breath, like I've been using, I got the Kindle just came out with a new Kindle, and I'm reading this. I'm like, man, this is so like this device is awesome.
Yeah.
Where it's I have 1,000 books on here that I can just go through, and you're still, you know, so
yeah,
I don't know.
I see both sides of it, and I like the convenience. I like the fact that I have access to all these games, and like just logistically, I have all my PS2 games. They're just like sitting in a pile. It's just a mess.
Sure.
It's like just a bunch of plastic and stuff. And I get it. Like, I know someone like Jeff, for example, you know, not frames all his games. I think they're like on a shelf or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a collection, which I like. I mean, that's
it's
really
like an
cool.
art piece at a certain point. Yeah.
It's really cool. But I mean, like, I guess for me, it's like, I'm a messy person, right? So it's like, if it's all digital, it's probably better for me in my space, because it's just going to be a big mess if I'm just collecting physical things.
I mean, I know we went through that flood, and I always keep going back and forth on it, where it's like, oh man, if that happened again, like all the, you know, everything that I had, it's like, what if all of this went up, right?
Yep,
like if either, you know, people have fires, people have floods, people have earthquakes, whatever.
Yep.
These natural disasters just destroy everything. And it's just like, at some point, it's like, oh, but if you had your little Kindle,
got all your library.
Kindle's pretty cheap, you know, like versus like, you know, you saw the bookcase up there with like all the hardcovers and all like the fancy editions and things like that. Like once water touches that, that's gone. It doesn't matter.
Yep, right.
And it's just like, at some point, the minimalist style is kind of appealing. So
yeah,
I know I'm talking about both sides of my mouth, but
I don't think it's black and white.
Huh.
Well, it is, I guess, in a way, but it's like not, nobody's correct.
Yeah.
I understand both sides.
It's preferences.
It's preference.
And I go both ways. Like I went like purely digital, and I was like, I'm trading everything in. And then I got super back into like, I kind of like how all these Switch games look just kind of lined up in the PlayStation and all the physical media and stuff. And I'm trying to convince myself that it's like, it's an investment, you know, like.
Well, that's what I love about a lot of manga is that you have different volumes, and a lot of the time you'll put them together and they'll create a picture.
Yeah.
Which is so cool. I mean, that's like an amazing way to display it. But eventually there'll be a middle ground where you walk in, and with your Kindle, you'll flick it, and in AR, you'll see a giant library with 1 million books that you have. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which I think people would argue is not the same thing. But
I think the biggest issue, and like, I don't know if you noticed, Steam just tweaked that. So now they have to tell you, hey, you don't own this.
Oh, like, yeah, I was seeing that.
Yeah. So when I got, what did I... Oh, we'll talk about it later. But the TCG thing, like when I bought it.
We can transition into that.
Yeah, so I bought a couple new games, and that was the first. I had to like click off, like, yes, I understand that I just have a license of this, and if you want to screw me at any point, you can, and I lose all my collection. Just like you can't will your collection to someone, you can't, you know, like all that stuff. Like it's very weird.
So they have the ability to take that game away from you?
Yeah, they delist it, and they're just like, okay, you can't do it anymore. I mean, The Crew was a main one, I think, recently, where Ubisoft, I think, does it, where it's just like, okay, it's gone. But I think they turn it around.
For the game?
100%, yeah.
See, I don't understand that.
Yeah, it's a digital. You didn't buy that. You do not own that game. You got a license to play the game. Yeah. And if they at any point decide, hey, we're no longer supporting this, it's getting taken off. Oh, like, and I'm making this up because this isn't a thing right now. But like, if Grand Theft Auto is like, oh, we lost the license to these music tracks or whatever, and something happened, so either you get a game that they changed and they updated, and now that's not the same thing,
right?
Or they just straight up say like, no, they take it away. You don't like you're done.
But what if it's downloaded onto your system?
Well, then you have it for as long as
it's downloaded.
Wow. That's the thing that GOG put out, where GOG was good, Galaxy, good old games, Galaxy games.
Yep.
Yeah, GOG Galaxy. So Good Old Games, which their whole shtick is DRM free. So when you download it and buy it from them, it's like, no, you own that. Like that is a thing that you have, and you can like you don't have to be online. You don't have to do all that stuff.
Right.
One of the main things is Warcraft 3 Reforged, right? They took down Warcraft 3. So if you don't have that physical disc of the original game, like you ain't playing it.
Right.
You know, like you have to play their new client, their new thing. Like it's not the same thing.
Yep.
And with what a disaster that thing launched at, where they took out like the ranked leaderboards and all of this stuff, and like, oh yeah, don't worry, we'll give all your stats and your rankings and everything. We'll put that back in there someday. No, you know, like none of my portraits are uploaded. Like it was a disaster, and so you can see how like it a drop of a hat. Like I think once the precedent is set.
Yeah.
Then
scary place to be.
Yeah. So that's why like whenever people see like, oh, they're going to take this down, and people like just rail against it and like just rage.
Yep.
You have to do that. Otherwise, companies will be like, oh, we got away with that.
Yep.
Okay, we're going to wipe
then
this.
You'll never get it back.
We're not, yeah, exactly.
You'll never get it back if you allow it to happen once.
And
right.
You're paying full price for this. That's the whole
That's
problem.
what doesn't make sense to me. Like if I understand the concept of a Game Pass.
Sure.
That makes sense to me. I'm paying monthly for a subscription, and I
games
don't
come
own,
and go.
exactly.
Yeah.
I don't own any of these games, and I'm totally fine with that agreement. That makes sense to me because I'm ultimately, if I do it correctly, I'm paying less for the access of all. Like I'm getting such a great value. Like for example, this year, you know how I always try to hit my quota.
Yeah,
I think I'm only at 2 games.
Yeah,
which is Persona 3 Reloaded and Call of Duty Black Ops 6. And I'm pretty sure just with those 2 games, I'm already even because it's like $10 a month.
Yeah.
And that's like $120.
So it raised it now. It's $12 a month. So it's $11.99 now.
Okay.
I just re-upped it. So, but yeah, like
because that's like 2 $70 games or 16 and 70. So it's like $130. So I'm like in the ballpark of break even.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Anyways, so I understand that relationship.
Difference being if you ever wanted to revisit those games, you still have to pay it.
Right.
So it's like, you know, you're to some extent, but ultimately you're going to be paying.
I very rarely revisit games these days.
It's a personal thing.
So it's I'm willing to make that sacrifice, but I totally understand. I like owning things. Like I'm a very much an ownership kind of guy. I like having assets that I own and
I'll tell you
do whatever I want with.
I'll tell you the opposite kind of issue that I'm having is, so I did Ubisoft, the Uplay Plus or whatever it was.
Yep.
Because I wanted to play Star Wars.
Correct.
And I put, probably 12+ hours into Star Wars. Got to the first kind of finished Act 1 and it kind of like opened up and was like, oh, here's this new thing. I'm like, that's so cool. I'm excited.
Right.
And I've paid 2 months into it, and that's like $17 a month or something like that.
Oh wow!
And I'm like, look,
that's wild. It's more expensive than Game Pass.
Yeah,
that's insane.
And I'm like, I need to tighten my belt. I need to I got into this kick of just like, okay, we're paying off stuff, we're getting everything and I canceled that, I canceled Game Pass, it canceled everything.
Right.
And so I never finished Star Wars, but I paid 2 months. It's $17 a pop. Now it's it's over half of what that game is technically worth.
Yep.
But if I buy the game now, so I have to wait till the game's like 40% off, 50% off for it to like kind of work for me. So that's a thing where like if you're going to play a game and you're going to play a game, you're going to finish the game or do whatever. In my mind, I was like, oh, this is a great deal. I'm going to get it for $17. But then I don't own the game and I have to do it on Uplay now. So even if because it's coming to Steam, I think in November, unless there's a way around it, I have to buy mine on Uplay because that's where my save file is, and I'm not about to go back and redo everything I did because I was doing
if it's a game that requires Uplay to be open,
I don't know.
Okay, most of them are though. These days.
Used to be, but then this is one of Ubisoft's first games back, so it's this kind of weird thing that they're doing, and EA is another one where Dragon Age is coming to Steam. So
off the bat,
I think so.
Interesting. Okay.
But I was looking all over on like, okay, like you have to sign a separate like EULA whatever agreement.
Yep.
But I couldn't find anywhere that said like, oh, this opens the EA launcher. So I'll be interested to see how that
EA is
kind of
notorious for that. I would be shocked if it didn't make you open the EA launcher.
I agree, but I wonder if they're just hurting so bad at this point where it's just like we need.
I hate
the biggest
they
install.
They
base.
might have my least favorite.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
EA's like, and then Ubisoft's like up there too.
It's a very close second because like Ubisoft is way more buggy.
Yep.
EA, I think, is just intrusive. So it's a kind of
I'd agree with that. It annoys me more.
But like even Veilguard, I'm like the Dragon Age. I'm in the back of my mind. I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's like it's $60.
Yep.
So in the back of my mind, I'm like, are they not confident in this game? Like, why is it not $69.99? That seems weird. Like, do they know that it's just bad and they're gonna get like flamed
and then they could be like,
know?
well, it's 60.
The collector's edition is the $69.99. Like, it's crazy.
Maybe they're trying something. Maybe they're like, okay, maybe people will figure.
I hope it's good. I just like
I am not sold on it.
No,
but we'll see what happens. Like,
if it gets a red, I'll play it. If not, I got a million other games I got to play.
Yeah, that might be a game. Well, I was gonna play it, but I've never gotten into Dragon Age. Like I've tried. Yeah. I've really tried to get into Dragon Age. I could never do it. I don't know why. Because theoretically, on paper, I should really enjoy that franchise, and for whatever reason, it's just not.
I think this one, like you play just as one character that you synergize with others. So it's like you're a commander shepherd essentially.
Sure.
So if they use that kind of,
isn't it a direct sequel from the last one though?
Yeah.
That's a problem because I never finished that. Inquisition.
I'm sure there's 15 videos out of the Dragon Age story.
But I mean, look, this is one of the biggest problems I had with Yakuza. Yeah. Which, hey, they did their best to try to, bring me in as a new player and explain the relationships that have been established. But when this epic music happens and this guy walks in,
but did you watch a video of it? Did you watch it like previously on?
No, I didn't.
So I think with Dragon Age, you definitely should do that. Yeah.
Well, okay, look, yes, but it's still not going to hit.
Not in the same way.
You can't bring a character back, and everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, they brought him back!" And I don't know what that is.
The trailers that they showed, like whenever we were watching what was it, Game Awards or whatever the summer thing was, they were showing like major spoilers from Inquisition. Like if you wanted to go back and watch Inquisition.
Major spoilers from playing
Inquisition.
I see.
The people doing the things and everything and all the talking back and forth and all this stuff is like a big aha moment from that game where it's like, wait, what?
Okay.
So if you go back to Inquisition and these characters are going to be talking, it starts out kind of slow.
Yeah.
You'd be very confused.
You know what would be a good idea, maybe, is because, well, okay, first of all, is this a game where you're going to bring your character from Inquisition?
I forget what they said. I honestly, I don't know. I can't even.
Yeah. So it would depend on that. But
your character, I'm sorry, the character you make from Inquisition.
Yes.
I don't believe so.
Oh, okay, interesting. So it's a new character.
This is a named character who is voiced.
Interesting.
I think.
Do you still make decisions in dialogue?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's a BioWare game. I should freaking hope so. Yeah. I think the difference is like I could be way off. What I was gathering is the thing that they're doing with this is going to be more action based. Because the Inquisition was kind of like you could be actually
a hybrid,
or you can be a top down, and you could be any of the characters.
Correct.
And it was like it's a lot. I didn't really care about that too much. And
that being said, though, Baldur's Gate. I keep talking about that game, but
sure, yeah,
that for some reason that felt manageable.
Yeah, 100%. But for whatever reason...
Well, maybe it's like the turn-based thing, but I think you could do a turn-based-esque.
As long as I'm voiced, I think that's kind of my main thing.
Is that really?
It's like, it's recapturing that Mass Effect thing, where it's like, you are Commander Shepard. The game is revolving around you. Yeah. You are voiced. You are a character in the world. You're making decisions in the world, and the world reacts around you. If they can capture that...
Yep.
Put in Dragon Age, whatever. I'm kind of over the fantasy realm. I'm just like I like space more, but I'm in. If they try to hit on that formula, I think that's going to be that's my type of Dragon Age.
Okay.
I'm sure me saying that, like I bet you Nate will hate this one because he liked the OG Dragon Age just like he liked the OG Mass Effect. It's just it hits different for different people. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? But that's going to be the thing, is they try something different every time, so you got to respect that, I guess. But this game, I mean, you change the name.
Well,
it's been
just
in
like Call of Duty, right?
Years.
It's evolving, but still maintaining the identity, which is
hopefully
really difficult challenge.
The art style, man, like the artwork and everything is just like it looks more of like a Borderlands, like a Tiny Tina's thing than anything else. It feels weird to me. Yeah,
for me, I mean, obviously I love Mass Effect, so it's like that named character thing where you're making decisions, but you're kind of removed from it because you know it's not yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So I like it when it's that. So I think what it comes down to for me is the third person element of it, where if I'm seeing the character, I want to be removed and I want them to be named, and I can still make decisions for them, but now I'm making decisions on how I think they would react rather than what I would maybe
like
do
Geralt
personally.
From Witcher or something.
Sure. Yeah. Versus a first person, like a Fallout, where it's not voiced and I'm choosing dialogue options. That's when I really feel like, oh, this is me, right? So I like both styles, but I think that's the way I would do it personally, where it's like if you're creating your own character and putting yourself in the world, it should be, I like it when it's first person. That's more immersive for me. Now, I understand the argument with that is like, well, why go through the process of making yourself look a certain way if you're never going to see yourself, which is totally fair. But that's just like how I am immersed in like, oh, I'm in this game because I'm picking a dialogue option in Fallout that's not voiced. So I can, in my head, it's my voice. Exactly, right. Yeah. Well, I'm not, actually, but if you're streaming, like that's good for streaming, right? Where it's like, you're
I like the third person. Like that is my,
I think a lot of people like,
bread and butter. I like being removed. I don't like, I know you're big on the immersion thing. I just like, personally, I get more into like the action third person.
Yeah,
like,
I like both, and Mass Effect's my favorite game ever. So it's like I'm down with the third person thing, but I think for me to make sense of it in my brain, the third person one, I would like the character to be established, where I'm still making choices for them, but they're their own character, and the first person is me. Yeah, and I'm in the game now. Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of how I.
Look, we'll see how it comes out and see how it goes, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. But so I know you mentioned the table trading card game simulator.
Trading card game shop simulator, which is essentially you open a trading card game store. Yeah. Which my online name is Wolvengard, so I named my shop Wolvencard.
I love it.
I thought that was clever. Chelsea actually saw it. She's like, nice. And I'm like, okay, cool.
That's really good.
That game is really cool because it starts you off in like this tiny little shop, and it's like, okay, put up this stand and put a few packs on there and let people in and stuff.
Yep.
And people buy stuff, and at first you're just like, okay, you got to make sure this shelves are stocked. You got to run over and do the cash register, and you got to do all this stuff, and you keep unlocking more and more types of cards, and you can buy in bigger bulk, and you could do these different things, and you'll eventually be able to hire employees to do things for you and stuff. So I have 30 hours in the game.
Jeez.
Apparently. Yeah.
That's wild.
Which is crazy.
Is some of it idle time though? Or do you like let just things happen?
To some extent. If you let things, so this is an interesting game where if you let things happen, because I have a guy on cash register and I have a guy stocking my shelf.
Yeah, I assume it's kind of cookie clicker-esque where it's
you could do that, but you are drastically making your game or your store inefficient, because you're gonna be able to check out way faster and stock things way faster than they could. Even if you have 3 guys going, you'll still be faster. So you could let it go, and by I'm on day, I want to say like 84, 85. So
wow.
and
so
what it does
are pretty
is
long.
12 minutes a day.
Oh wow,
something like that. Yeah. So you could do the math, but what the interesting thing is, like, it starts at 8 a.m. and the timer doesn't start ticking until you flip your open sign in your store, and then everything comes in. And like, it's so stupid because I have like a 4.7 in my social network rating or whatever
out of 5.
And it's like, if a smelly person comes into your store, they're like surrounded by like this green gas cloud. So you have to have like sprayers set up with like perfume to like spritz them. And each smelly customer, you have to like spritz twice to like cure them of the bad smell.
Jesus.
And the problem is, if to be most effective, I basically put 2 of these massive things right at the door. So as soon as they walk in, they just get sprayed in the face twice, like from each sprayer. And then they're fine. And that's how you keep your score high.
Yeah.
If you wanted to make it like aesthetically pleasing, which I'm all about, like I want to make a really cool looking store. I worked at GameStop for 7 years or whatever it was. Like,
yeah,
you try to model it a little bit. And you can't do that because if they like make it into your store maybe halfway and someone's like, ooh, that's stinky, they're going to leave like a bad review.
Ugh.
So it's like this whole thing. But I just closed up shop, redid my entire store layout. You can actually buy like a separate smaller store next door. You could set up like card tournaments for people because it's all about obviously cards. So, and basically what the aim of the game is automate your store enough that you're bringing in a crap ton of revenue. It's kind of just moving fine day to day, and your job at the end of the night around 9 p.m. when like your guys leave is you go through, take inventory of like, okay, like how many boxes do I have, everything organized and stuff, and it's all labeled, and it's like, okay, I need like 3 boxes of the 3rd tier stuff, and I need fire decks and green decks and all this other stuff, and like you can sell plushies, you can sell comics, you can sell all these supplemental kind of.
Is it like based on Pokemon?
Oh my gosh, is it based on Pokemon?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I think
not as bad as Pal Worlds though.
It's pretty close.
Really?
There are some. There is specifically a Tentacruel or Cool or whatever.
Yep.
There is one. It's not called that, but it's like, dude, this looks like you put them side by side.
Pokemon's just really getting it.
Yeah, dude. That's because everyone's making better Pokemon games than Pokemon are.
Yeah.
Nintendo could literally make this game in a more Nintendo way, and it would be it would be insane.
Yeah.
It would be amazing.
Right.
But then they would also have to like acknowledge the fact that this aftermarket card, like they would be like, it's just bad. I'm 99% sure there's already a mod out that you can just change everything to Pokemon cards.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that makes sense.
I think my biggest gripe, and so this game was so cool that this is, I think, the first game that I actually put it, like I found the thread on Steam where the developers are going in for like ideas and stuff because it's still early access. And I was like, hey, from my experience working at just like a game store, here are things that I would love to see or like from, whatever. Dumb stuff like, hey, could you swap, like reverse the cash register? I would not tell you how my brain just wasn't comprehending it, where it went small bills to large bills in the cash register, where GameStop is always big to small. So it's like my muscle memory was just effed when I was trying to do it really quickly and stuff, which is stupid. But I was like, hey, I would love a toggle for that. Or I would, hey, have you thought about having shoplifters come in? And like you have to keep an eye on like making sure people aren't stealing, and like you have to worry about shrink and all this other stuff. I'm like, if you want it to be like this like realistic experience, or whatever. So I left this like long list of just BS stuff.
That's awesome though.
And there a lot of UI stuff that I wasn't going down that rabbit hole, but like I think the people that made it are awesome. They should be commended. I think they did a really cool thing. I already uninstalled it. So I saw my playtime and I was like, okay, I'm good. It plateaus. Like at a certain point, it's like I've unlocked everything that I really can unlock without grinding for like another 30 hours. So I'm like, I'm good. I see the game. So I'll come back to it once they add more features and stuff. They actually have a long list. They had maybe like 20 things on their roadmap, and only the first one was crossed off. So I'm like, dude, if they're going to incorporate all, like they're actually putting a card battling system in the game. So if you wanted to battle people with their cards and their thing, like you could. I don't know how fun it will be, but that's really cool.
Yeah.
They have every single card. They have 111 monsters, and each monster has like 10 different versions of like, here's a first edition, here's a holographic, here's a ghost version, here's all these different things.
Right.
Which is really cool.
Yeah.
All worth things. I pulled one card that was like worth like $2,000, so you can put it in there and you can adjust the price, how much you want to sell it and stuff. It's really neat. But the whole idea of the game is automate your store, and you just sit in a corner and just open packs of cards, and that's it. And you're just
the dream.
That's it. Yeah. I honestly think opening the cards is the most boring thing. Like one of the suggestions was like, you just hire an employee to sit in the corner and open cards for you, and at the end of the night, just be like, all right,
here's what I got.
Good cards did you get? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that would be the most fun part for a lot of people.
100%. And I think if you're streaming, that's the thing is like, I mean, people do that all the time is like just opening Pokemon cards.
This would be a good streaming game. Yeah.
Pokemon cards, I think, would have been it. Like if it was like, here's the OG Pokemon cards and maybe the jungle cards or whatever, because that's the only ones I ever owned. If there was a mod for those, just those, where I knew the value, I knew what was exciting or not, I would be all in. But it's janky enough and new, like kind of like early access enough. I'm like, I'm not going to spend the effort to like mod it and do all that stuff. Right. I'll wait till it comes out. Yeah. But as a first go, clearly putting that much time into it is a good time.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. No, 30 hours is a lot of
I checked today and I'm like, because I knew we were going to talk about it. I'm like, oh man. Like I didn't realize.
You uninstalled it today?
Yeah, I did.
That's funny. Yeah. You've been playing some other stuff though, Rogue Waters.
Yeah, so I played that, and then Rogue Waters, which I don't think I'm just gonna double check. I don't think it's early access. I think that game is officially out because I want to say that that's a contender on my top 10 game of the year. Yeah, it is officially out. Wait, yes, and Rogue Waters is kind of like an XCOM-ish game. Did you ever play Disco Elysium? Probably not.
No.
It was like an RPG, and
I know what it is.
Okay,
yeah.
It has hints of Disco, like the UI of Disco Elysium, in that there are a lot of dialogue options and choices you can make.
Right.
And it's funny because it's so pirate that it's like, I think that, like the bad guy, right? If you put black in any other like noun, that's your bad guy, right? So you have black beard, black hand. This guy's Blackbone, and he's just
a new one.
Yeah, and he's just a pirate captain. And I'll spoil the intro because this is my biggest gripe with this game, and it goes places, so I don't want to like spoil anything else. But like, you are named Cutter, and you're on this ship, and Blackbone is the captain, and he's essentially grooming you to one day replace him. He's like, hey, you're going to be a captain in my fleet. Like, you know, you're my protege.
Right.
And you go to this mermaid hideaway thing and you find this like crystal, right?
Right.
And you go for this crystal and out of nowhere, you're compelled to take the crystal and just jam it into your eye.
Yeah.
As Cursed Treasure does. Yeah.
Yep.
So up to this point, Blackbone's like, hey, old buddy, old pal, whatever. And then all of a sudden he's like, all right, well, I need that crystal, so I'm just going to kill you and take it. And it was this very weird turn, like dialogue-wise, like writing-wise. I was like, I'm sorry, what? And you're like, wait, what do you mean? And everything. And essentially, you just find out that like this whole crew's like immortal. So if you die, you just respawn. That's where the rogue element comes in.
I see.
And that's just kind of how they explain that away.
Perfect.
And they take a Hades thing, but do not nearly go to the level of Hades of like every time you die, the story kind of progresses and, you know, stuff like that. Story isn't super great. It's like, well, I'm going to get revenge because I found out that Blackbone's still alive, even though I thought I killed him. So I'm just going to like take all his wealth and now I'll teach him. It's like, okay. Like that's
teach him.
That's a setup. Yeah.
I'd teach him.
But it's interesting. It's you level up your crew and you gain your crew and they all have skill points and stuff and whatnot. So, you can kind of like have your crew, and if they get hurt on a mission, you can kind of put them in the barracks and take a new crew out and stuff like that. And you get your ship and you can put cannons on it and stuff and go out. And every battle starts with you going up against another ship, and you have 3 turns to just trade volleys. And you can decide, okay, I'm going to blow up their guns because if I don't, they're going to shoot my crew or something. Or I'm going to take out these modules that they're called, but it's like if you take out like this, it's just icons, but if you take out like a barrel of rum, that means that they don't heal on their turn. Or if you like just like kind of like strategy stuff, it's basically setting up like, okay, do you want to deal with fewer enemies but with like really good buffs, or do you want to have a ton of enemies but they're all really weak?
Right.
And like kind of basically those are your two options when you kind of reduce it down. And then you swing onto their deck and you have typically 4 to 5 pirates, and it turns into like this XCOM, you take all your turns, they take their turns, and you just kind of do a turn-based strategy fight. And it's cool. I think it became very repetitive overall. Like they introduced new mechanics, but nothing like super groundbreaking, right? It's like, oh, now there's rum. So if you end your turn here, you can like drink and heal yourself or something and whatnot. And it's cool.
Yeah, right.
So I think it got a little repetitive. I think the story was a little okay. Like the characters were fine enough. I think the artwork is very, very well done. But I don't think the character work was super strong. And all the characters are the same. So like if you have an archetype where it's like the fat like butcher guy, you could have like 3 of him because he's just like a type. So they're not like, oh, you met Garrus, he's going to be this, only one of him. It's like, no, it's the same, literally the same character models for your entire crew, depending on the class that they are, with just a different name. So it got really like, like you weren't attached to anything, which I think also hurt the story a little bit because they have no, it's just you, your first mate, and then you're going after the bad guy. And then, oh, by the way, the eye is actually like a spirit called Shiv, who is like a feisty pirate chick. I don't know. Anyway. Yeah. Overall, I think I would give it an 8 out of 10. So 80. I think just like a flat. I liked it. I thought it was a good roguelike, but like it was like, there are better ones out there. I think my love of pirates definitely helped it. Yeah.
Right.
But I thought it did some interesting things. I thought it was pretty neat. I just didn't think it went far enough and had enough variety or enough. I think if the story was there, I would love it. But when I'm thinking about things like Shadow Gambit, where the story I really enjoyed and all the characters were very distinct and unique and everyone had their own like backstories and things like that.
Yeah.
I know I'm a gameplay guy, but like you need that too. Like you can't, because like the gameplay only lasts for so long for that type of game. I think before it's like, okay, it's like the same. I have my same strategy going in. I never really had to change up my strategy once I got to a certain level and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That was a solid little game then. Yeah. I thought you were going to love it because it seemed right up your alley, just the pirate theme.
It has a really strong start. Yeah. And I think the longer you play it, like I wanted to see it through, but I think it could have, like, I was like, maybe a little too long.
Okay.
Like and maybe that's just me being bad at the game. Cause like, part of it is like you just die cause it gets really tough on certain things. But like it got to a point too when I was like so overpowered or I found such a good combination that I'm like, oh, this is like, they can't like I just wipe everyone out.
Yeah. That's what happened when I was playing Unicorn Overlord.
Yeah.
Is I just used flyers for everything and I would just attack the boss.
Yep.
So my flyer unit would be the best.
Yep.
And then their special trait was like a speed boost. So they would just, it was like I had a jet.
Yeah. And they go over all the terrain. So they just go, it's just shortcut straight there.
I shortcut straight there. Or if people were cutting me off, I would just go a long way around.
Yeah.
And I would just win the match in one fell swoop.
Yep.
Anyways, I understand that. And I can get how that can be diminishing on the
It's just one of those
payoff.
like they pull from a lot of different games. But it's like the XCOM part, XCOM is better. The story part, Disco Elysium
Jack of all
is better.
trades, master of none situation. Yep. Definitely understand that.
Yeah. It was good. I'm gonna try that the one where you're fighting Nazis. That is Shadow Gambit. It's just by a different studio. It's like the same type of game. Oh,
that's right. It's an older game.
No, it came out this year.
So
I'm
really?
gonna try that out. Yeah.
I thought the people who made Shadow Gambit disbanded.
They did. So this is a different developer who is taking the same style of Shadow Gambit and they're just putting it to a new setting.
So different people.
Different people altogether. Okay. Yeah. but it looks real.
Yeah, I know.
real similar.
If it's
like the UI is,
if you like
just about the same thing.
That game, then
yeah,
theoretically,
yeah,
that's cool. Okay, so that's next on your list then.
No, next on my list is SteamWorld Heist 2. I'm going to play that and the COD campaign.
Yeah.
And did you try Metaphor yet?
I haven't started Metaphor.
I downloaded the demo. I'm going to try that.
Yeah.
We're getting crunch
I bought
time.
it.
That's the problem is like it's crunch time.
Yeah, it's crunch time. I got to figure some stuff out because I still have to play Astrobot. But I've been busy playing.
Dragon Age is coming out end of the month.
Yep.
So next week.
Yep. It's crunch time.
Yep. Yeah. So
I have like a month to get through all these games.
Yeah.
It's going to be brutal.
I think Shogun Showdown will be a good like Switch game like you were talking.
I'm going to finish up my Switch games during Thanksgiving when I'm with my family.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have my computer. And then I think I have a lot of PTO, so I might just use a week and just crush some games.
RPGs. Yeah.
Metaphors could be a lot of time. I think it's like an 80-hour game.
I'm curious if it'll grab me or not.
I'm shocked. I thought it was just going to be like not Persona.
Yeah.
And people love it. So either people just love Persona, which is definitely possible and true, or it holds up on its own, which is also possible.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very curious about that. But I have to get to Astrobot. I am still playing Dragon Ball, but I am comfortable enough where I'm at in it to rate it. I've played enough of it.
How's Dragon Ball?
Yeah, so Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, which is, I don't even want to say, I guess technically it's a spiritual successor of the Budokai Tenkaichi series.
Yeah, which
like
were
the
all over
PlayStation
your list.
Yeah. Well, only one of them.
Your top 100. Didn't you have two Dragon Ball games?
So there's two different ones. There's just Budokai, which is the Tekken style like 3D fighter, and then there's Tenkaichi, which is the arena style, like you flying all over the place.
I got you.
A million different characters.
That's what this one is. The Sparking.
That's what this one is. Yes. So it's the one. It has 181 characters.
How many are Goku?
Like 20? No, I'm just kidding. Like probably 10. So every transformation is counted as another character.
Yeah.
So I think they said there's like 60 some unique characters.
Okay.
That's
how Fighter is it Fighter Z or Fighters?
I've heard it both ways.
Yeah.
I call it Fighter Z.
So do I, because it's capital.
Because you call it
Z.
Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't call it Dragon Ball.
That's how Fighter Z was. Every time there's like new characters.
Yeah, it's like, it's just Goku Super Saiyan 4. Yeah, no, exactly. So yeah, there's that, but the old games are the same way. So they counted everyone individually, which is interesting. So I was super excited about this game because the Tenkaichi, I only had the third one, but it's, as you mentioned, one of my favorite games of all time.
Yeah.
So it was really interesting, especially due to my recent experience with Tekken, kind of jumping into a quote unquote more legitimate fighting game. So first of all, I love Dragon Ball Z. So I like when I booted it up, I just huge nostalgia hit and like smiles on my face. And it was really, I like the style in which they do it. I think it looks good. It's, obviously they do a good job of like the art style. And I really like the menu, although you would hate it because it's one of those things where like the characters are interacting with each other and every menu is Goku goes to a different place and there's different characters there.
Yeah.
But you have to do it every time. So he's like flying over every time. So it takes like a second.
If it's not responsive.
So the first time you do it, it's really cool.
Yeah.
And you're like, this is awesome. And then you're like, oh, I just want to get to this thing. And I think if you're doing it quickly, he just warps to whatever. But there is still just a little bit of lag time, so it could be annoying from a UI perspective. But I think it's really cool that every year, like the story mode has characters and he's interacting with them, and then there's the online mode and all that stuff. So that's really cool, and it just got me in the right mindset. I really like the love that they put in. It strikes a good balance of hitting the nostalgia factor while also revitalizing the series and extending and evolving, I should say.
Yeah. So is this like other like a what if scenario, or are they just going through like here's how these
so the story mode is really interesting. It's weird. you pick a character. So there's like 8 characters you can choose from. And then based on that character, you follow their journey throughout the main story. And then there are several points where you can deviate if you meet a certain condition in battle. So Goku's story is the longest. You pretty much go through the game, although they do cut some things out, which is, I thought it was just a strange move. You don't really hit everything. And then it's weird too. You won't know what the battle condition is you have to meet, or if there's one, unless you pause the game in the fight. So it was really annoying doing that. And
but
then
they at least like you don't have to like fight the fight and then go back and redo it. Just to see what
I had the opposite problem where sometimes I was beating them so fast, I met the condition and I went down this alternate path.
And you're like, this didn't happen.
And I was like, wait a sec. And then I had to go back to see the main path. So they definitely could have handled it better. Like, first of all, if there was a way, if there is a split, they should let you know up front. Like, hey, here's what you need to do. Here's the objective and the alternate objective. And then if you do it, but you want to see the main scenario, it should just unlock it. You should be able to pick what path you want to go. Yeah. So I didn't like it with that. So ultimately, honestly, I wasn't really a fan of the campaign because I understand why they did that, because this story has been rehashed a million times. So they're like, oh, we want to spice it up. And I think some of the alternate scenarios are interesting, but honestly, I would have rather you just play through the whole thing and it's just like, I don't know, like just rehash it and then you're playing as a thing, because I think you would have been able to utilize the characters more and find out who you're liking based on that. Because I remember in the one I played when I was a kid, like one of my favorite sections was on Namek when you would play as Frieza. And you're going through all of his transformations. You're beating the shit out of everyone. You're like knocking everyone down. It's like a really cool mission. It's like pretty tough too, because like you didn't heal at all. So you have to, like, everyone's coming at you and you'd have to like beat all these people consecutively and stuff. But yeah, they didn't really have that. I mean, some of the stories are the villains. Like you play as Goku Black at some point, and I think Frieza has his own as well.
See, that's what I'm saying. You just put black on something and suddenly they're the bad guy, the black hat syndrome.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's the same in Dragon Ball. So yeah, wasn't a huge fan of the story. I appreciate the effort that was put into it. Also, like, you have this map that you're going through. It's like this
like Mario World
map. Mario World, I guess. And it's not easy to get back to where you want to go. And you can't zoom out and look at your whole progress. It's like very zoomed in, and it's like, I don't like how they did it in terms of like the UI and like the technical aspect of it. I think it could have been much more improved. The fighting itself is very it does a great job as a nod to the original. It's pretty much the same in a lot of aspects. You have 2 moves. You have 2 kind of alternate moves that like power you up or like give you a warp or something. Like they're alternate moves. I don't know how else to describe it. And then you have an ultimate move when you power up all the way and you have a finishing move or whatever. So that stays the same. And every character has their flavor and their, special attacks. So they did a great job with that. And they added some different elements to the game, technically, that spice it up, I think. Now the fighting, I brought up Tekken because like now that I have that experience with like a more traditional fighter, I can see the flaws in like this arena style of fighting where it's like it gets pretty repetitive, it gets pretty button mashy. Like it's I see the holes in that. I still think it's a ton of fun, and I think they added a lot of really cool elements to it. But yeah, it's not going to be like the most applauded, tight-knit, intricate fighting game of all time, right? So it's more of just like a casual.
Do you think it could be at the expense of people that maybe aren't into fighting games that just like Dragon Ball Z? Like if it wanted to be technical, do you think there is like a space for that, or is it just
no? Because I think that would be like Dragon Ball Fighter Z or something like that is the technical. That was the 2D. That's like the Street Fighter. Yeah.
I mean, like for an arena thing,
more like Marvel vs. Capcom. Yeah, I don't know. I think arena style fighters, at least and I'm not an expert on fighting games, so grain of salt. But it seems like they're designed to be more casual,
like arcadey, yeah.
And
I'm trying to
arcadey.
think
I think
of, like,
that's the
something
fun of
that's
it.
like technical. Like the only one I can think of is like a For Honor, which I know is not anything close to Dragon Ball Z, but like,
Yeah.
but something like that where
Sure.
like I could see it being like there is a level of dueling, and you're sizing the opponent up and doing it.
Don't get me wrong, there is an
Yeah.
aspect of that to this, and you know, there's a ranked system which is new in this. Obviously, wasn't in the old game. So, and there are people that are really good. Like I went on ranked, got spanked. So
Okay.
like, there's a ceiling.
Yeah.
There's a skill ceiling that's not. It's not on the ground. It's like, you know, you can definitely get better, and there's some aspects to that, but it is much more two-dimensional than a Street Fighter, a Tekken, or even a Mortal Kombat.
Ironically, more two-dimensional whenever it's...
Two-dimensional in terms of gameplay, not in terms of...
Yeah.
So yeah, I really like the gameplay. There's so many characters that it's really fun and exciting to like just try new people and like, man, who's my man? Like even I don't know even yet like who my favorite character is. So I like that. So the gameplay is really good. I think they made some great additions to that, and it's a lot of fun. Although it does get kind of repetitive sometimes, which is like...
Is everyone unlocked? Like, do you have access to the full roster?
No, but I unlocked them like within one night. It's really easy to get money. Very generous with that. That was a breeze.
Nice.
And then you have like abilities and stuff. So there's a shop where you can buy every character has customization, where you can put things that, you know, give them more health or stronger key attacks or whatever.
Oh, okay.
And then, so that adds an element to it. And then there's also just customization in terms of their visual look as well, which is really cool. So It's like, oh yeah, I remember when Vegeta wore that armor and on Namek, and it's, you know, there's great nods to the show and the source material. So I think they do a really good job of respecting it in that way. There's online as well. As offline, you know, the World Tournament is back as well, with all those different tournaments throughout the series, like the Cell games you can do, and then they each have their different rule sets for each one, which is really cool. So that's all the same and fun. I was playing through all those. I beat all of those, and you can do those online too, which is really really cool. So I think that's mainly everything. There's objectives that you complete and like goals and milestones, and then some of them give you like Dragon Balls, and then you use the Dragon Balls to like unlock new characters or level up or whatever, get money.
Right.
So that's like a cute little thing that they put in as well. And then one of my favorite things, which is in the old games as well, is there's a catalog of every character. And then I think in each of the old games, it was a different narrator that would kind of talk about the character through their own perspective. So one of the games, it was like Chi-Chi, and another one was like Bulma. Mm-hmm. In this game, they have Chi-Chi, Bulma, and Videl. And they like, it's really cute. They talk through like, oh, this is Goku when he was young and we got married and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, it's really fun, like going through all the characters and talking about it from their perspective. And there's like some funny lines in it too. And that's what I remember is like, the old games going through that. So I'm really glad that they brought that back.
Seems like there's like a ton of content. Like, is this
there's a lot of content in it.
Game?
Yeah, I think it's 70.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a ton. Like that's, I'm probably forgetting some aspects. Oh yeah, you can create your own scenarios. So there's like an editor where you can like put in dialogue, and like, it's not voiced, but it's like, you can create your own Dragon Ball Z episode, and they have like the classic logo where you put the title of the episode and people online can play it. And there's filters, and there's editing that you can do, and there's certain conditions that you can meet. So I was playing some last night where I was fighting Brawly as Super Saiyan 4 Goku, and had this whole scenario of like what's happening.
Yeah.
And I get him down half health, and he it cuts out to black, and then he transforms, and there's more It's like really interesting.
Huh.
Like there's like it's not like a campaign, but it's like a mini episode that people make, and you can vote if you or give it thumbs up or whatever, so you can like filter it by like the most popular and stuff, or that you can make it like really challenging. Like there's one where you play as Hercule, and you're just fighting like the strongest people in the game or something. It's like this gauntlet. So it's really cool. Yeah, there's a lot of different things in the game, or what would you call that, modes in the game, and content in the game that you can play around with. I think that's everything. Am I forgetting anything now? I think that's pretty much everything. I'm trying to go through every little
So as a package, what do you ranking this?
Yeah, so it's tough. Like, this is very nostalgic for me. So obviously it probably bumps it up higher than maybe it should be. I think from a technical stance, it looks pretty good. I had some issues initially, but it might have been my drivers. So once I updated them, I think it was pretty smooth. I know that there were some online things. Oh, the only other thing I wanted to mention was the ranked mode or the team battle mode. So it's called a DP battle mode, where every character is assigned a certain point value, like destruction points. So the game's designed where like Goku Super Saiyan 3 is innately stronger than Master Roshi or whatever, right? So that's built into the game. It's not built to be balanced. The way they balance it is every character is assigned this point. And then your team can only be made up of 15 points worth of characters. So you can have one really strong character and then maybe like one really weak character versus a more balanced team with middle of the road characters, but they have 5 people, right?
But can the 5 weak ones contend? So I assume they can contend.
The strategy, actually, what I've been seeing is you want 5 people, because if time runs out, it's whoever has more people left.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So,
jeez. Okay.
One of the meta strategies right now is you go with Yajirobe, and he has a Sensu Bean ability where he recovers all his health, and you just stall the game out. So he's like one of the weakest characters in the game.
Yeah.
Strength-wise. But it's so cheesy that it was really interesting to like see what the meta was and stuff, like what people were doing. But another thing is like you take 2 more, like you can take Goku and Vegeta, but then they can fuse, so you can get a much more powerful character. You don't need the points. Yeah. You lose the character spot. So it's like a balance.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting. So nice. I thought it was interesting to see how it develops. Overall, I think it's a great love letter to the originals while adding to it. I don't think it's a perfect game. I think it's definitely, you can get tired of it because it is pretty samey in some aspects of it, as well as there's like some UI stuff that I know would drive you crazy.
Sure. Yeah.
Also, the tutorial stuff is not very good. So I watched videos online to learn a lot of the mechanics and stuff. Mm-hmm. The way they describe it in the game is just it's just not
Tekken
it's
level.
Not done. No. It's just not done well at all. So there's even some things I still am not fully understanding.
Right.
And it's that could have been improved as well. So I think an 83 is fair. I think it's a solid silver game. I don't even know what they would need to do. It would have really had to blow me away to get a gold. But I think it's just a great experience. And if you like Dragon Ball, you're going to love this game.
Nice.
Like, it's definitely for it. If you don't like Dragon Ball, see, maybe that's why it's not a gold. It's because if you don't like Dragon Ball, it's probably not a game for you.
Okay.
Whereas something like Dragon Ball Fighter Z, I think if you're a fighting game fan, you would still appreciate that.
Sure. There's something there for somebody that...
Whereas, and also a Dragon Ball fan where it's not just one of them. So that's maybe my rationale.
Yeah.
Sorry. Was that long? Was I too long on that?
Oh, I don't know.
Did I go long?
No, you're good.
The only other thing I wanted to touch on was Backyard Baseball. They released Backyard Baseball on Steam.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be a remaster. It's the original game. It's literally the original game. Every bug is still in it. Every little thing.
Yeah, rough edge. Still there.
I mean, it's amazing. It's incredible. But I was misinformed on what it was. And I think they were purposely not...
So that is the least amount of work they could possibly do.
Yeah, it's literally just all they had to do is how do we make this work on modern
machines
systems?
Yeah,
through the particular client.
Can we sell 10 copies of this game? That pays for the development time.
Like their updates were like, oh, we fixed this problem with the Steam Deck, and then they send out another thing where it's like, look, we don't have the original source code, so we can't fix any original problems of the game. I'm like, oh, I see.
You have enough code to put it out and get the money.
I mean, I don't know. Well, look, I'm glad they did, because it's like the reason they did this is the only way you could play it is like pirating it.
Yeah, like
because,
ROM it.
Like the CD didn't work in modern systems.
Sure.
So it's like, I'm glad I can now play backyard baseball in the modern era without pirating it.
I mean, that's how it was with Warcraft 2.
Right.
Because GOG came out with it and it was like, okay, hey, you can do this now. And I'm like, great. I have a copy that I can play now.
It was like $9. So I'm like, or now like $8 maybe. So I'm like, I think that's worth it.
$8.99. They got you with the...
But I think it was on sale.
Oh, maybe. Sure. 10%
Maybe
off.
it was down from 10 to $8.99. I don't know. Anyways, so it was great.
Nice.
I still love that game. It's also on my top 100 list.
Yeah. We're not counting that as a 2024 release.
No, because it's literally the same game. I was thinking about it because I was like, no. If they make 0 changes to it, like they definitely...
Yeah.
Even if they like updated the graphics, I don't know if I would count that.
Yeah, remaster.
You have to...
Yeah.
It has to kind of be a remake in my eyes.
Yeah.
Unless it's like such a total overhaul like a Spyro, where you can almost argue it's a different game. I think it is a different game, definitely. It just has a different feel, and it's not the same engine.
Yep.
Yeah. So, anyways, Pablo Sanchez, still the GOAT. I won't get into it because I know I'm talking a lot, but I had an incredible... Like, the amazing part of these games is this... There's no story, right?
Yeah.
It's just these characters that are unique and really interesting. And it feels like you're just in the backyard with your, these people, and you're picking them for your team. And then the story is like the experience that you have.
Yeah.
Like it's the bottom of the 6th. There's 2 outs and you're down by 1. And Tony Del Vecchio comes to the plate, who's like just this Italian kid with a tank top.
Yeah.
And a lollipop in his mouth, and he cranks a home run to put us into extra innings to extend the series. Unbelievable, because he's not known for hitting home runs. It's just amazing things like that, where it's like, I remember these things as a kid, and I just had a similar experience even as an adult, where I was Pablo Sanchez had several key moments in my playoff run. And one of them was to win the World Series, I think, or it was game 2 or something to send us to game 3. And he had this clutch home run. And I literally was screaming in my house, dude. I was like, let's go. It was unbelievable, dude. Anyways, it was just awesome. It was such a throwback. And yeah, a lot of it's nostalgia, but I do think it holds up in a way where it's it's so simple, but it's that experience that you have with it.
Yeah.
That creation. And it's its own style. It's not trying to be hyper realistic. It's not trying to be something else, right?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. It's here are these kids. They look really goofy. The art style is very unique.
Yeah.
They each have their distinct personality and just play baseball.
Dude, the sequel needs to be them in
older
grade school or middle school or however much older. High school. Well,
they're coming out with all the classic games, so I'm really excited because 2001 was my favorite.
Yep.
And this is the original 97. So, anyways, I had a nostalgia weekend 2 weeks ago.
I was gonna say,
awesome, dude. I was 10 years old again.
That's awesome.
So great.
You need that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, all right. I think that's all I had.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, we'll get to maybe there's some other stuff we can get to later.
Sure.
Okay. But if you made it this far, we appreciate it. Check us out, couchcompany.games. We have our ratings. I think they're up to date, right?
They are.
A couple of things we have to add.
Yep.
I see my Notion emails.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Wolfenguard's updated there. No, it might just say Tyler.
I went through and started updating some of the artwork and stuff, and I was like, I bet
the
John's
only annoying thing is if you move a pixel, it tells me.
Yeah.
If you made a game change, he added this rating and that rating, I'd be like, oh, nice. But it's Tyler changed the font. Great.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. No, it's all good though.
I'd
rather have all alerts on than no alerts.
I was experimenting with some of the sizing of images because I'm like, okay, I can repurpose this and use the same graphic for multiple places.
Yeah.
And about midway through doing that, because it's I make it 10 pixels bigger and put it in. How does this respond? And I'm like, oh, I bet John's getting all of these.
20 emails in the docket, bro. It's funny. But check us out, couchcompany.games. Tyler does a great job of doing those little incremental changes. Yeah. So we got our ratings on there. We have the podcast, obviously, as well as our top 5 lists.
Yep.
We just recently did one with early 2000 comedy movies or 2000s comedy movies. So check that out. And yeah, we're going to be here. Same time, same place next week. Thanks for joining us on the couch. Peace.